Hi, it's Des House from Des House Life. I'm going to show you a few things I've been working on, which is primarily Halloween. So I've been working on Halloween for a while. I am a slow crafter. I joke about that all the time, but I am kind of slow. So I want to show you some of what I've made, and then I'm going to show you over this series of, we'll see how many I can make. Because I'm new to videoing and editing. So we're going to see how many of these I can make. But I want to show you what I've been making for Halloween, and maybe as we get closer, we'll make something with them. So I've been making a lot of ephemera, some pockets that might go on journals or in Happy Mail. People talk about Happy Mail, but Happy Mail is just little things that you put together and send off in the mail to friends and family. And yeah, so you can see I have some of my collection of Halloween Tim Holtz dies here. And what I have are the mostly single layer dies, not the complicated, they're very pretty. What are they called? The ones, I can't remember the name of them, but the ones that kind of build on each other. So these are mostly just the single layer dies. They're colorized. That's what they're called. They're beautiful die sets too. You can use colorize and what I'm going to show you, but yeah, so I have some of these in my bin. This is not a Tim Holtz stamp. I bought it at a store. I think it was a wooden block stamp. I just was playing around with this, stamped it, cut it out, and I used my my Tim Holtz Distress watercolor pencils on this one. But you can see I have some others that I just stamped and cut out. Maybe I'll use them. This was something I was playing around with, and I stamped and with one stamp and then put another in. This is like gray archival, and then I used a VersaFine black over top to give it some eyeballs, which is kind of funny. You can see I have the new set of stamps from Tim Holtz. They're a flower stamp that came out this spring. And Simon Says Stamp created I want to make sure I'm in camera here, created a die set, matching die set. So I cut them out. I did them on craft. I cut them out, and then I used some the watercolor pencils again. The watercolor pencils again. And I gave this one a little shimmer. I had a Wink Stella pen here that I used. So I did them kind of, orange and red and purple, dark tones for Halloween. I made some, just some labels. I have a stamp, a Tim Holtz stamp. Can't remember the number of it off the top of my head, but it's a label frame stamp that I made and cut these out, cut them out, I think by hand. I did some in white and some in craft, and some I actually have stamped on already, right? So I made this, which is pretty cool. You can see I did a background stamp in lighter, and then I used some bolder and dark black, a black stamp for the sentiment in the face. Oh, this is just from something else I made. I had cut out. I'll show you that. And that's that glow paste from last year that Tim Holtz released. I made some prints with my gel plate and some ink and paint. So you can see I made a whole bunch of them. And if you have a gel plate, ever used it, it's pretty handy. You kind of keep going. And I just used, I think I used a Nina cardstock that Jennifer McGuire ink, if you know who she is, recommends. So I had a bunch of that, and I just was using that. You can see this one, I used a stamp of a skull even to lift some of the ink or the paint before I printed. Yeah. So I had a piece of burlap here on I saw this from Tony at Duncraft, or she did some gel plate printing recently and used a piece of burlap, and that's all I did was glued a piece of burlap to some cardboard and use that to print. Right, so you can see I have a whole bunch of them, and so I'll be using these as time goes on this season, God willing. Here's another little thing I stamped, just kind of cut it out. I could fussy cut this one too and use it. And then here's another label. Here's another one I just stamped, skull. Yeah, so this was just on, this is just copy paper. I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. I have some long tabs like Tony from, gosh, I can't think, is it Duncraft? She's got different names on there, different socials, but if you look up Tony, Toni, she's from the UK. She does all sorts of ephemera and just really cool stuff. So, and she likes to make tabs and clusters, and I cut some tabs out that I'll probably make something with. And then I made this tab from, this is that new Trims stamp and that Tim Holtz released. And there's a matching die set from Simon Says Stamp. And I made this tab with it. Kind of neat, right? Okay, this is from last year. I made this guy with an embossing folder and some metallic cardstock and paint. Tim Holtz has a whole video on how to do that. And then I made some pockets with some craft stock that I had, and I used some paints and black opaque texture paste and put some ephemera in it. Look at that. Backed it with that skull. So I made, just stuck some ephemera in there so I can use them in a journal. You can see I made like a coin pocket with, used one of my stencil from past years of Tim Holtz in black and orange, and just made some ephemera. And this piece of paper, again, is just printer paper that I had stamped off on. I'm going to talk about that in a second. But and then I die cut it. I die cut it with a pumpkin from one of the more complex pumpkins where you build them up. I used the base die, and then I had a die set that cut out these faces, right, these eyes and teeth, and ran that through, made a cute little pumpkin, and just glued him on. And I used my punch to get these little flag piece of ephemera. Okay, have another one. So these are on craft, as you can see, and then I glued down some homemade ephemera from some of my stamp offs, and I'll talk about them. I used one of these new frames from Tim Holtz, and I found a piece of ephemera with this woman on it from a past Halloween set. It was either layers or ephemera, and I used some crackle paint over top of it and let it crack. Yeah, had some more ephemera, some from Tim and some that I made. Okay, here's another one. So those single layer stencils I was showing in the beginning, that's what I did. I used them on some of that copy paper where I stamped off, and just, yeah, I'll show it. So that's one of the projects I want to do next and show you guys is making, I believe I'm going to make a master board, and then what they call a master board, my version of it, and then doing some stamp offs, and we'll do something with those. Okay, so here is another thing, a label I made, and I stamped the background with a plaid stamp in a light gray. It was actually this Hickory Smoke archival ink, and then I stamped over top of it with a darker black, the VersaFine black, and then like Tifa from Juicy Christian Studio does, I just did some doodles around it. And I did some doodles on the back. So this is in black. And I did another photo from another past ephemera pack and crackled it and put some crayon, distress crayon in there. So this fits in there. Pretty cool. So you can use that in a journal. I have another black one. Yeah. So this is just a label that I used. They're stickers, so we'll talk more about that in the future. And here's another of those Tim stamps from the spring that were the numbers, paint by number, I think, and there was a matching die set from Simon Says Stamp that I used to cut this out, and then I just hand wrote that. And believe me, I practiced this somewhere else before I did it online, and you could see the lines. They're actually with a friction pen, but I don't know, it shows up. So lesson learned on that one. But yeah, cute. And then this one I did another like coin type envelope out of black, and I used that grit paste glow from last year. I did the stars through a stencil, and then I made the moon with the moon die, the small moon die from Tim's moon set that I had out a little bit earlier. And yeah, so did that out of the glow paste, and then I used a little I believe it was the crayon to make it a little darker. I think that's what it was. I have to go back through and remember. But if that's something that we're gonna do a sample of, I will, like in a tutorial, I will be sure to get the process down and show you. And then I used a little piece of black paper, just black paper, cut it into a coffin shape, and just hand drew these angel things that you see. I can't remember what they're called, but they're on old tombstones. Like if you go to Salem, you will see them on the headstones, and a date, and I put come and see where they have left me, which is a spin on a headstone of my ex-husband's family, very old one in a cemetery that they had something like that on their headstone, which we always thought was odd. Maybe it means something, maybe, I don't know. But anyway, I just did a little hand drawing around it with a white gel pen, and yeah, little piece of the ephemera. Okay. And I have some other various things, some pockets that I made using Wendy's Journal Adventure, a tutorial she had, but I did she didn't do Halloween ones, she did just everyday ones, florals or something. And I did that, and I made in the Halloween format, and I made these little, I think I followed a Camellia Craft Designs, Julie from over there, does something like this. There's just a little paper clip inside, but they're fun to make. I really enjoy making those. And again, so I have a bunch of these pockets that I could use in journals, and you can even see on some of them I have, see this is something that I had when I was done stamping something else. I stamped off on a piece of copy paper, and then I inked it and everything later and cut it out. Yeah, so a couple of them, some guest checks that I just inked and stamped, or stamped and inked. And this was some of my practice run, you can see. And here are some more of these paper clips. This is just some store-bought labels that I stamped on. This isn't really Halloween, but I might use it for Halloween. And then I had a bug. These are like a chalkboard style. And yeah, some simple designs. And then in these tins, I have all of the things that ephemera I made from a stamped off piece of paper. And I'll show you what I mean by that in a second here. Sorry, I keep saying that, but and then I have die cuts that I can use, and these labels. Tony uses these labels. I got some, and then I was just making little stickers. They're a sticker, labels on a roll. Yeah, and then you can see here some other labels, some of those ones that I made with Tim Holtz's stamp. And I stamped on them, and some of these, like I masked and used the Ghost 3 times, one of his stamps, and then I used a distressed watercolor pencil to give it some color. All right, and that's about it. I just have some other stuff in here that I grunged up, some paper, had some extra ink on my mat, so I just soaked it up. Yeah, and these are some things I cut out, so I just saved those. I might use them. Okay, so that is where we're gonna start. So again, if you don't know me, my Instagram is Des House Life. My YouTube channel is Des House Life. And, but I go by Desiree House on Facebook, so you might see me in the Tim Holtz Addicts group as Desiree House. And so yeah, so I'm active in that group, and yeah, I have a few social media accounts, but I try to keep all of this stuff under Des House Life. Okay, so on to showing you the next thing. So check out my next video. This is just the introduction to my Halloween 2024 makes. And then my next video is going to talk about actually making a master board. Bye.